first of all, thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm really honored and I'm really pleased to be here to share my experiences from Norway. As Anastasia said, I know Anastasia for many, many years back, and we together have been fighting on European level and international level to bring racism on agenda, and also discrimination and this multiple racism and discrimination against women, ethnic minority women in Europe. And I would say internationally we have done lots of work together. And I was so pleased that when I was asked to come here, I said this is one conference I will certainly give highest priority. So I am very, very glad that I am here. I have worked on so many different issues, so there is lots of knowledge accumulated in those past 30 years. So I was thinking that I didn't know how much you know about Norway, so I thought I'll prepare a just general presentation to give you some ideas what we are doing, and you can always ask me questions about specific issues. So I was thinking also that I'll start with a little introduction about Mira Resource Center. You know, we always, as minority women, we always have lack of funds, lack of resources. So minority women in Norway, how Mira Center came into being is a very unique and very interesting story. So I want to share this story with you so that you should also know that even if the state is not funding you, there are always possibilities. Never give up. So when we were working we started organizing in 1979, and by the time we had worked 10 years, or there was no funds available, and we were doing these things from our homes. Most of us were students, and those working women, they were letting us use their work telephones, copy machines, and all these things from their offices. What happened was that we were very active bringing women's issues on agenda. I'll talk a little bit about Norwegian history. But in 1989, in Norway, we have a very unique campaign. It's once in a year. The National Broadcast Corporation collect money for some purpose, some charity purpose or projects in the third world countries like Asia, Africa, South America. In 89, the television corporation decided to give the funds, and those funds are 100 million, 200 million Norwegian kroner. They're huge funds. So they decided to give these funds to women's organizations. Because so that they can have women projects in Asia, Africa, and other countries. So because we were part of that women's umbrella network, we campaigned and we said that it is important to establish a third world women's center in Norway. Because, it's always easy to give charity and establish projects and strengthen the women in Asia and Africa. But what happened to those women when they come to Europe, when they come to these rich countries? So we said that we are third world within the first world, so we need our own resource center. And there was huge discussion because it never happened that this money was used in the country, because this money is supposed to be used outside the country. But there was, we finally got consensus among the women's organizations that it is important that we should get some funds to establish the center. So we got very little funds, but these funds were enough to give us a very good start. So we started from a small office, and now we have a big center. And since then, we have struggling. We don't have much money still, but we are a very strong voice. And we have almost over 10,000 people who contact us every year. It's a national organization, and we also are contacted from people from Sweden, Denmark, because within Scandinavia there is no center like Mira Center. So it's run by and for ethnic minority women. So you can also imagine that how strong political voice we can be, because we are not afraid of any donors giving us money. We decide our own agenda. So this is a little background. Of course, there is enormous money on diversity and in integration issues, but this money goes mainly to the bigger ethnic Norwegian organizations like Red Cross and church organizations and so on, who are doing charity work among the immigrant community. But because we are a political voice, it's always difficult to get money from those channels into the center. But still, we don't give up. So Mira Center is to promote racial and gender equality for ethnic minority women in Norway and increasing awareness. We have throughout the years established very good legal help system. We have lawyers working, giving free advice to women. We have also social services, crisis help and interventions, and lots of networking around the country. We also help other minority women who want to organize themselves and they don't know how to do it, so we do lots of that kind of consultation. And these services are free for our network people. So we want to define our own agenda, and because you have a state defining what is important for you, but on the other hand, we also know our reality and we want to define our agenda. As you might know, that Norway historically was thought of as very homogeneous society, culturally, racially, ethnically, but it's not true. It's a myth, because Norway always had Sami minorities, Tatars, travelers, and Norwegian infrastructure was built by the German and Spanish and Southern European labor force. But those people were not considered as a part. I mean, that's another story. I have also spoken a lot about Sami minorities and how those minorities were oppressed, and some of them, I mean, even Sami people were not even allowed to use their own language. It's a very recent phenomena that they are allowed to use their own language. So the new migration happened in the late 60s when Norway discovered oil, and there was lots of economic boom. As you know, I think the history is same here in maybe in Ireland, in England, and whenever there is economic boom, they need labor force, then the migrants were encouraged to come. And the new migrants came from Asia. Mainly Pakistanis were the first, biggest, largest group, then Turks, then North Africans, and gradually South Americans, and lately lots of people from war zones are coming into the country. As Anastasia said, ethnicity, that everyone has ethnicity. So the terms how one define minorities within a country, this has been also a dilemma for Norwegian society. What do we call them? Do we call them guest workers, foreign workers, immigrants? Sometimes we were called cultural foreigners. I mean, there were lots of interesting debate going on. And now lately, everyone is agreed more or less that it's okay to call ethnic minorities, because at the same time you also call ethnic majority. So my colleague who is newly employed at Mira Center, she's ethnic Norwegian, And she was, I gave her one interview she was going to send that to a journalist, and where I had used the term ethnic Norwegian women. And then she said, but Fakhra, this is not correct, because I am Norwegian and I am not ethnic. So I said, well, this discussion will take later. Right now, I have a deadline, so send it to the journalist. And so you can imagine that and then we were using the term in the 70s, 80s, black women. I mean, so many Asian women protested that we are not black, we are brown or colored or whatever. So there has been lots of this kind of discussion. But finally, we know whatever term we are using, we know where we stand and who we are. So in 1975, Norway introduced immigration ban, and immigration policies started getting more stricter, and lots of families came into Norway to settle with children, and currently are 11% of the total population. But when we say that, most of these, a larger part of this 11% are from Western Europe and North America. Newly, we are having lots of labor migration from Southern Europe also. I thought I'll just, you all might have heard about this racist attack on 22nd of July 2011 in Norway. Most of you are familiar with that. Now the thing is that many people thought, how could it happen? How could Norway breed such a person? So we'll come back to that, but this was the worst ever terrorist attack after the Second World War on Norwegian soil. And the terrorists parked the car, because Norway has been a very free country, and there was no much security. So he parked the car right under the building where the Prime Minister's office and all the ministries are. And it had tons and tons of explosive. So he parked the car, he came out, took another car, and in the meantime, the bomb exploded. And imagine that we feel that it was, if that person had not gone to the island and start shooting, we would still be hunting down for a Muslim terrorist. Because that was the situation that moment. I just lived next block to that explosion, and our buildings were also affected by the whole thing. I mean, it was just like you are in a war zone. An immediate reaction to that terror attack was that these are the Islamic, my family started calling me from Pakistan, because they saw the satellite picture and they saw they didn't know where I live, and they said, "What, are you okay? What's happening? Oh, these Muslim terrorists." They called from Pakistan and telling me that, oh, these terrorists, they are, peaceful Norway. They have even destroyed that country's peace, and it was this was the immediate reaction, and everyone. I have spoken to so many people. We have had workshops in the center talking to women, children, because people were shouted at, spitted at, that it is their responsibility. So there was so much hatred in the first moments of the attack towards minorities, but the moment it was known that the terrorist is not from minorities, it's a white, ethnic Norwegian, born and brought up in the best west side of Oslo, with a reasonably high upper middle class family, and highly educated, there was a kind of silence. And after the silence was broken, that was only love, love, love. So now, those of you who are psychologists, imagine that how could that happen? What kind of psyche we are talking about? The official response was more openness, more democracy. And the Prince of Norway, because they had huge marches, peace march, and so the Prince of Norway said that today we have shown the world that we value freedom and love, and we are giving, our response to this terror attack is love. So, so there was, everyone was talking that this guy had specifically said that he is against multiculturalism, he is against Muslims, he is against immigration, and he has now attacked the Labour Party's youth camp because this is a future leadership of a Labour Party government who is bringing Norway into who is making Norway multicultural society. And so it was a very, very interesting situation. And minority groups were, of course, everyone was breathing easily, because they said that day after the attack, they said this is the first day we can walk around Oslo's street head raised, because it's not we who are the terrorists today. So it was very tragic, and in this tragedy there was also a very huge, you can see that there is not a Muslim terrorist. I mean, one can. So what was the environment who produced this racist? Prior to 22nd of July, there was a huge debate on multiculturalism in Norway. There was a Fremskrittspartiet Party, this Progress Party, which is the second largest party in Norway, and if there is a government change next year, they might be coming into power. So he wrote one piece where he said that Norway current immigration level is on the verge of tearing Norway apart. Norwegian culture is in danger of being wiped out. Thousands of immigrants each year bring with them uncultured ways of life, forcing Norway to be multicultural. We do not believe in multiculturalism. We believe it is a dream from Disneyland, the rootlessness implanted in the system, idiocy in the long term, and we believe it is going to tear our country apart. And he said we would not allow this multicultural experiment of Labour Party. And when he was asked what is Norwegian culture, and then he said, it is the celebration of our national constitutional day on 17th of May. It is raising our flag, our stories, our poets, our composers, and our writers. As soon after this speech, the Norwegian, one of the biggest Norwegian newspaper had a poll where 76% of the people asked said that what this person has said, Tybring-Gjedde, what he has said is what everyone else was thinking, and it was about time that somebody said it. So you can imagine how was the environment in which this person acted. There were lots of anthropologists coming out with lots of reports telling that every choice has its price, and the price to live in Norway is that one has to accept that one's children will become Norwegian. So it was totally kind of assimilation. If minorities want to live here, they have to assimilate. And as you know, after 9/11, Islamophobia has been on the march. I mean, it must be the same, at least in England, we hear a lot about that. So in Norway, it's the same. And when Islam is discussed, it's in Norway, it's usually terrorism, it's usually crimes, it's usually hijab, women's headscarf. These are the things which are the primary topics of discussion. And hijab has become a very, very significant thing. And then the previous leader of this party said that I am anxious regarding the development of Norway if we give in to demands of Muslims and Islamists. In our political party, we have always believed that immigrants must adapt to Norwegian conditions. It is not us who need to change. I am certain that slow Islamization is happening in Norwegian society. A small step here and a small step there. And the day before yesterday, on Friday, this Friday which has just been, there was a discussion in one of Oslo's schools where a large majority of the students are Muslims, that they wanted to have a prayer room. And headmaster of the school permitted that prayer room. But the previous leader of this party, Carly Hagen, he came and he said, if you allow this, there will not be any budget compromise in Oslo, because they are the major partner of, in Oslo we have this party, Conservatives and Liberal Party. And immediately the Conservative Party's leader went out and said that there should not be any prayer room in any schools. It's not allowed. So you can imagine how much power they have. So that so Islamophobia is really, really on the march. Hijab debate was very interesting because in 2010, the year before this thing happened, a Muslim woman applied for a police force, and she said that in the school, police academy, and she said that if it is okay, that she would be allowed to wear headscarf as a part of her uniform. Police academy said no to that, and she filed the complaint to discrimination tribunal. The tribunal, in fact, said that it is discriminatory not to allow her to use headscarf. But then the government said, because tribunals' decisions are not binding, so the Justice Minister said that we will look into it, but we are not bound to accept the tribunal's decision. So, I mean, soon after, while these discussions were going on, this huge thing happened. That it changed the whole Norwegian society. So many people thought that now, after this attack, Norway will change. Because suddenly there was lots of positive focus on multiculturalism, that multiculturalism is good for Norway and immigrants are good for Norway and lots of things. What happened 1 year after? We are on the same track. It seems like nothing has really changed. We are not compatible with the Western ideas. They are also using gender. So women are used like that. These traditions oppress women, and so they are not compatible. So women, gender and racism are very much interconnected. As I have just noted here, how like minorities are considered traditional, while Norwegians are modern. Things are changing. We have gender equality. Minorities are religious, fundamentalist almost. Society is secular. They do forced marriages. We have love marriages. They do honor killings, while our men just kill women. And remember, in Norway, there is a murder of wives. It has been put on agenda because some polls have shown that within Europe, Norway tops some of the statistics where wives are killed by their men. And they're not all wives who are ethnic minority women. So this is also a very important thing. But those killings are not considered honor killings or anything. They are personal tragedies. And minorities are barbarians, patriarchal, but ethnic Norwegian men only beat their wives because they are just angry. Minority women are considered not to have their own ambitions. We have also experienced in the schools that the teachers giving advice to young girls what professions to choose, that they give advice to choose some kind of, into services, become a helper, nurse, not even nurse helper. Even one of the girl came to us and complained that she wanted to be a teacher, and the teacher and her advisor said that, well, you can choose to go into this, health profession, and teaching is a little difficult for you. And I was just so shocked. I said that even to become a teacher is not a very prestigious profession in Norway, because it's still low-paid profession. But even in those professions, where white-collar professions, our girls are not given the chance to apply. But thank God that minority women and their families are very, very aware, and we have a large number of Asian girls into into medicine. And I think in 5-10 years in Norwegian hospitals, you will see most of the doctors, maybe black doctors. So this is the whole, that kind of debates are going on. And now this debate on banning hijab and burqa in schools have been going on for so many years, and it's still going on. And last year we had a huge, on 8th of March, this picture is from 8th of March, so 8th of March demonstration where Muslim women had a big section protesting against this kind of oppression and right to choose in the school. So if you see that how this web of gender discrimination happening, like in the labor market, for example, we had a survey not very long ago which showed that ethnic minority women married to ethnic Norwegian men had more chances to get employment than ethnic minority women married to ethnic minority men. Your second name is very important for the job. And there have been also a discussion because there was a survey done where they changed the name of the person on CV, and many of the people were called into interview, and they said that if you have a Muslim name or a foreign name, the chances to be called in for interview are much less than the other. And we are seeing a new phenomena now, that because they don't want women to be on unemployment statistics, and they want to keep unemployment statistics low, so women are sent as, I don't know, we call it Praxis Plus. It's a practical, learning job experience. And they send them to different workplaces like factories and all. So these factories get free labor force. These women work full days, but are not paid. They're paid only that welfare allowance which they are paid. And after 6 months, where they're working, they are supposed to get the job, and usually they're not getting the job. So they're sent to another workplace, and these kind of things goes on and on for many years. And they never get permanent jobs. They're never even paid fully. So you can imagine how this labor exploitation is happening. For single mothers, it's almost impossible. If you are single mother and on welfare, it's very difficult to get decent housing. So there is lots of discrimination on housing. So there are cultural and religious stereotypes, which I just mentioned some of them. Education system, there is community violence. because our fight is on various levels. Because we are also fighting within the community that kind of violence, and we have seen lately a very extreme form of violence, especially among communities who come from war zones. And there are lots of psychological disturbances, and women have been really, I mean, these kind of violence, it's like torture. And even the medical doctors have also said that this reminds them of torture kind of thing. So you can imagine how these psychological problems and these kind of abuses are happening. So women are into this. And it's, now how do I, there, here. So we are talking about, now this is, I'm going to close my talk, because you can always ask me questions about what you are more interested. So these are intersection of help and support we have to create for women, because the discrimination is also intersectional. I just chose this picture. It has nothing to glorify motherhood or anything. It's just that this picture looked very nice, so I said, okay, I'll use this picture. So that's how we have to go ahead. I'll just end with this statement from a woman, that I'm tired of reading all the victim stories about ourselves in the Norwegian media. Sometimes it happened that I also know the women described as helpless beings. Those women do not like the way they are portrayed in the newspapers, but they are in a vulnerable situation and need help. Why can't the journalists learn that minority women are also integrated human beings, struggling to change their life situation for the best for themselves and for their families? And this is how many women feel in everyday life when they see their images in the Norwegian media. Now, some good things are also happening in Norway. And that is that we have now, 2 weeks ago, no, last week, we have got our first cultural minister with a minority background. She is young, she is only 29 years old. She's born and brought up in Norway, and she is, her parents have come from Pakistan. And this is a very, very big step for the present government. And so this is a good news. The interesting thing is that the day she was nominated as a culture minister, you can see how social media exploded with the what does she know about our culture? And remember that she has a big CV. I mean, she is brought up into that setup. She's a very qualified person. And what does she know about our culture, and so on and so on. But this, despite the fact that she is now a cultural minister, and we are very happy to see some kind of representation coming up on politically on a higher level. And so there is another good thing has happened, that which is historical, that this government set up a commission to look into gender equality policies, how they have worked for the past 30 years. And so this commission was based on researchers, and the commission has come out with very good documents. They have come out with 2 documents. One is called Structure for Equality, and one is called Politics of Gender Equality. And that structure of equality is how they mean that what Norway has been doing on gender equality has worked, but not as they wanted to. So there has to be, if we want gender equality, it costs. So you have to establish a separate structure for that. Politics of equality is also very, very interesting, because they were also given a mandate to also talk about ethnicity. They're not talking about specifically about ethnicity, but they are also discussing somehow intersection of discrimination. And this report just came out on Thursday. I was in a meeting where it was launched. And so we are really looking forward, because we are hearing, will be hearing partner, so change the situation for minority women in Norway. Thank you very much.